What's new from Apple? There's the new iPhone 16 Pro, built for Apple Intelligence. And it comes with the all-new camera control, giving you an easier way to quickly access your camera tools. The new Apple Watch Series 10 has our biggest display and our thinnest design ever. And this? It's the sound of active noise cancellation, now available on one of 2 new AirPods 4 models. So quiet. Check out all of the new products and new features at apple.com. You can even buy yourself something new. See apple.com for product availability updates. Apple Intelligence coming this fall.
This episode is brought to you by Hill's Pet Nutrition. Every shelter pet deserves a second chance, and you're making it possible for thousands of them every day. Because when you feed your pet Hill's, you help feed a shelter pet, which helps make them healthy, happy, and more adoptable, changing their life forever. So they can change yours. Over 14 million shelter pets fed and adopted. Science did that. Visit hillspet.com/podcast to learn more.
We get it. Distractions happen. That's why we designed the fully electric, full-sized Volvo EX90 with the latest technology to keep you and those around you safe. Its 2-sensor driver understanding system is designed to prevent distractions and help you stay focused. Reserve your Volvo EX90 today. Learn more at volvocars.com/US.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse on your favorite streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. You can follow the Red Treehouse on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, Threads, and Facebook at Red Treehouse Pod. And now you can find the Red Treehouse on Patreon. Join the Red Treehouse community for as little as $3 per month and receive exclusive member benefits, including personal shoutouts, early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and more. Simply go to patreon.com/Red Treehouse. And if you have a scary story or topic you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, email redtreehousepod@gmail.com. Important note: sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. One of the most enduring, yet difficult questions for paranormal enthusiasts is, can a spirit communicate with the living? We've all seen movies where a ghost writes messages in a foggy mirror or window, or arranges Scrabble tiles to form a coherent word or sentence. And we've all likely heard of electronic voice phenomena, where a ghostly voice is captured using a spirit box, or in some cases, through dumb luck. And of course, we've all heard of spirit communication through the Ouija board or seance, all of which we've covered in previous episodes. For skeptics, they're steadfast in the belief that this is nothing more than fiction. And for believers, they're resolute in the belief that spirits can and do communicate with the living from beyond the grave. But here's a question you may have never thought about. Is it possible for ghosts to communicate with the living through more modern, even conventional means, like email, for instance? In 2011, Jack Froese died suddenly after suffering a heart attack. 5 months later, his friends and family received emails from a familiar address. In this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're going to explore the strange and scary emails from Jack Froese. Did he really communicate with his loved ones from beyond the grave? Or is there a more natural explanation? And what would you do if you received an email from a loved one who's passed away. I'll share the story. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
By all accounts, Jack Froese was well loved by his friends and family. Born in 1978, Jack Froese died unexpectedly of a heart attack on June 10, 2011, at the age of 32. Here's a portion of his obituary. Quote, "A light went out in our lives. John Jack Froese, 32, of Dunmore, died Friday at home from a heart attack. Jack was born December 15, 1978, in Scranton. Son of Jack and Patty Froese, Jack grew up in Dunmore. He was a 1998 graduate of Dunmore High School. He received his associates from Luzerne County Community College in record and sound engineering. Jack's personality was bigger than life. He always had some sarcastic comeback for anything anyone had to say. He could make you laugh even on your worst day. He loved spending time with his kids, watching them grow and learn. He also loved spending time with his family and friends, especially Michelle. Jack was also into tattoos, both getting and collecting tattoo artwork. Each one had a special meaning to him, and there was a reason for him having each one. Jack had an immense passion for music from the time he was small. He was a founding member of the band For Strength for a Reason, Ray Bauer and Scrap. He loved to write and play new songs, especially for his kids. He also loved working on and building motorcycles as well as riding them. It was where he felt most at peace. He was also one of the founding members of the Baseball Furies stunt team. Jack had a love of all animals, having various pets throughout his life. He will be deeply missed by all whose lives he touched." End quote. Jack's sudden death was caused by a heart arrhythmia, which according to the Mayo Clinic, quote, "occurs when the electrical signals that tell the heart to beat don't work properly. The heart may beat too fast or too slow, or the pattern of the heartbeat may be inconsistent. A heart arrhythmia may feel like a fluttering, pounding, or racing heartbeat. Some heart arrhythmias are harmless. Others may cause life-threatening symptoms." End quote. Jack's death was tragic and no doubt traumatic for everyone he knew. The strange thing about losing someone is while their life is essentially frozen in time, for the rest of us, time marches on. Minutes turn into hours. Hours turn into days. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. On and on. This was true for Jack Froese's friends and family. In November 2011, 5 months after Jack passed away, his childhood friend Tim Hart was sitting on his couch when he got an email from a familiar address with a strange 2-word subject line: "I'm watching." He opened the email to find an equally strange and scary message. Did you hear me? I'm at your house. Clean your fucking attic. Jack Froese. Speaking to one news outlet, Tim Hart stated, quote, I turned ghost white when I read it. It was very quick and short, but to a point that only Jack and I could relate on, end quote. What made the email so strange, besides the obvious, was the reference to Tim Hart's attic. Because one of the last times Jack visited his home prior to his death, they'd gone up to the attic. Tim Hart stated, quote, we were up here looking at what we would have to do if we ever wanted to finish it. And the floor is just dusty. And he's like, better clean this attic before I get up here. End quote. According to Tim Hart, there was no one in the attic besides him and Jack. No doubt, Tim Hart was startled by the email. A few days later, on the evening of November 21st, Jimmy McGraw, Jack's cousin, discovered an email sitting in his inbox from a familiar address with a 2-word subject line. Hey Jim. He opened the email to find an equally strange and scary message. How you doing? I knew you were gonna break your ankle. Tried to warn you. Gotta be careful. Tell Rock for me. Great song, huh? You're welcome. Couldn't get through to him. His email didn't work. The email sent to Jimmy McGraw was signed by Jack Froese. For Jimmy McGraw, much like Tim Hart, what was so startling about the email was how personal it was. Here's the thing. Jimmy McGraw had broken his ankle while leaving to go to work the week before receiving the email from Jack. And according to one article, quote, he'd seen or told very few people about the accident, end quote. For his part, Tim Hart replied to the email he received. However, he has yet to get a response. And the email stopped as abruptly as they began.
We get it. Distractions happen. That's why we designed the fully electric, full-sized Volvo EX90 with the latest technology to keep you and those around you safe. Its 2-sensor driver understanding system is designed to prevent distractions and help you stay focused. Reserve your Volvo EX90 today. Learn more at volvocars.com/US.
You know how when you're living your life, and then all of a sudden you're out there helping cops solve crimes?
ABC Tuesday.
I have an IQ of 160. I spot things that detectives miss.
The series premiere of fall's most anticipated new drama, High Potential.
That big brain of hers is going to help us close a lot of cases.
Caitlin Olsen is the new face of investigation.
You're a single mom pretending to be a cop.
I am not pretending. I'm just out here super copping.
High Potential. Series premiere Tuesday, 10/9 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Starbucks Iced Apple Crisp Oat Milk Shaken Espresso. Made with blonde espresso, creamy oat milk, and spiced apple flavors. It's an icy crisp sip you can enjoy all autumn long. Order ahead on the Starbucks app.
Of course, this story leaves us with questions. The two most obvious, at least to me, are 1. Did Jack Froese send the emails to Tim and Jimmy? And if he didn't, who did? The answer to both questions is frustrating. We really don't know. Let's consider the second question and then the first. One of the most reasonable explanations for the emails is that Jack did not send them, but someone who had access to his accounts did. This explanation makes good sense. Perhaps someone stumbled upon Jack's login information and sent a few emails. It's also possible Jack's email account was simply hacked, with those responsible sending emails to both Tim and Jimmy. Except here's the thing. The people who received emails from Jack Froese aren't convinced the messages came from someone else. Jimmy McGraw stated, quote, "I'd like to say Jack sent it, just because I look at it as he's gone, but he's still trying to connect with me, trying to tell me to move along, to feel better," end quote. After receiving his email, Tim Hart reached out to Jack's mother and asked if she had sent the message. Her response was surprising. She told him, quote, "Just to accept the mysterious emails as a gift. I saw they made people happy. They upset some people. But I see it as people were still talking about him," end quote. It's also possible Jack Froese pre-planned the emails before his death. Except this theory leaves more questions than answers. First, Jack Froese died suddenly and unexpectedly. If his death came at the end of a long illness, then the pre-planned email theory would make more sense. And, as important, the emails weren't generic. Though brief, they contained personal details relevant to the recipient. Tim Hart's email contained a sort of inside joke between him and Jack. And Jimmy McGraw's email contained information about his recently broken ankle and an allusion to a song. There's no way Jack could have pre-planned an email about Jimmy's broken ankle 5 months before it happened. Which leaves us to consider the first question, that Jack Froese was in fact communicating with Tim and Jimmy from beyond the grave. The answer to this one is actually far simpler. Either you believe it, or you don't. As with most paranormal or supernatural occurrences, skeptics and believers abound. The hardened skeptic will search high and low for a rational, material explanation. And the convinced believer will take the evidence at face value and say it's at least plausible. But here's something interesting. There's a third group, one that includes Tim Hart and Jimmy McGraw. For this group, it doesn't matter if the emails came from Jack or not, because the effect is what matters most. For Jack Froese's loved ones, the emails brought comfort and a sense of peace, almost a reminder from Jack that he was okay, and they would be too. In that sense, it doesn't matter if Jack's account was hacked or if someone got a hold of his password, because for those grieving his death, the emails were a balm to a gaping wound. I'll admit, I'm not sure what I think about this case. The most obvious rebuttal is that someone close to Jack sent those emails. Maybe a close friend or family member who had his password and access to his email account. But here's the thing. If we accept the possibility that spirits communicate through EVP, Ouija boards, seances, and more, then why can't a spirit communicate via email? Listen, I know how that sounds, but the discomfort of the question says nothing about the answer. And we have to admit, it is possible Jack Froese communicated with Tim Hart and Jimmy McGraw via email. For me, this story is less scary and more intriguing, if only because I resonate deeply with the desire to communicate with a lost loved one. Every day, I send my dad a simple 3-word text message. "Love you, Pop." I've never gotten a response, but even now, there's a small part of me that hopes today will be the day I get one. And if that day comes, like Jack's family and friends, it won't matter who sent the message or why. All that will matter is the comfort it will bring. As we close this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're left with these lingering questions. Did Jack Froese really communicate with his loved ones by email from beyond the grave? Or is there a more natural explanation? And what would you do if one day you received an email or a text message from someone who passed away long ago? I've shared the story. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.